Imagine driving down the highway at like 90 miles an hour. You've got your foot on the gas, the engine is purring, you are making just incredible time.
Right, you feel completely unstoppable.
Exactly. But then you glance out the window, you look at a road sign, and you realize you are heading to the completely wrong city.
Oh man, that is the worst
It
feeling.
really is. All that speed, all that, efficiency, it essentially just got you to the wrong destination faster. And that is kind of the paradox of modern productivity,
Absolutely. We're completely obsessed with getting things done faster, but we rarely stop to ask if we're actually doing the right things in the first place.
which is exactly what we are tearing down today.
Yeah.
Welcome to the deep dive. So if you've ever felt like you were working incredibly hard, doing all the right things, trying all the latest productivity hacks, but you still end up feeling, I don't know, burned out or just empty at the end of the week, this deep dive is specifically for you.
Yeah, because we are pulling apart the core concepts from excerpts of Stephen R. Covey's foundational work on personal effectiveness.
The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which I have to point out the cover imagery boasts over 10 million copies sold.
It's massive. And our mission today isn't just to summarize his ideas. We really want to figure out why standard time management and success hacks often leave us feeling empty.
Right, and how fundamentally shifting our internal maps can create a genuine shortcut to, lasting effectiveness. So to start that rewiring process, we have to look at how we view success in the first place.
Well, the source text makes this fascinating historical observation. For the first 150 years or so of American history, success literature focused almost entirely on what he calls the character ethic.
So like fundamental traits.
Exactly. Things like integrity, humility, patience, industry. But then shortly after World War I, there was this massive cultural shift toward the personality ethic.
Which is all about what? Public relations, influence techniques?
Yeah, quick fixes, basically faking it until you make it.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the text uses this great analogy of cramming on a farm.
Oh, I love that one.
Right, it's like you can fake your way through school by cramming for a test. You stay up all night, memorize the facts, and pass. That's the personality ethic.
But you cannot fake a harvest.
Exactly. You can't forget to plant in the spring, goof off all summer, and then suddenly expect to cram in the fall and get crops. The character ethic is the farming. It's the daily grinding work.
Which is why you can't shortcut human relationships with quick fixes. I mean, sure, maybe a personality hack works for a single job interview.
You turn on the charm.
Right. But over time, if you lack the fundamental character, it bleeds through. The personality ethic is just a social band-aid on a chronic wound. And to really grasp why it fails, we have to understand this core idea. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are.
Wait, break that down for me. That sounds a bit philosophical. How does that actually work in our brains?
Well, think about it through the lens of conditioning. The excerpts detail an experiment done at Harvard Business School using a famous optical illusion.
Oh, the face illusion.
Yeah. The professor splits the room in half. One half is conditioned for just 10 seconds by looking at a clear drawing of a young, elegant fashion model.
Okay.
The other half looks at a clear drawing of an old woman with a large hook nose. Then the whole room is shown a composite image that combines both faces.
And what happens? Do they see both?
They argue endlessly. The people conditioned to see the young woman cannot fathom how anyone sees an old woman and vice versa.
Wow, just from 10 seconds of conditioning.
Just 10 seconds. They are looking at the exact same black and white lines on a screen, but because of their prior conditioning, their brains interpret the raw data entirely differently.
So if my mental conditioning has trained me to view, say, the corporate world as a zero-sum game, I'm going to interpret a coworker asking for my help, not as collaboration, but as a threat.
Precisely. We're looking at the same email, but my map is entirely different. Covey calls this mental map a paradigm.
And paradigms are the source of our attitudes, right?
Exactly. Think about it. If your map of Chicago is actually a map of Detroit, no amount of positive thinking is going to help you find the Willis Tower.
You can't just smile and run faster.
Right. You're just getting to the wrong place faster. The attitude isn't the root problem. The map is wrong.
I read the part where he illustrates this with a story on a New York subway, and honestly, my first reaction was just pure frustration.
The one with the kids.
Yes, he's on a quiet train, and this man gets on with his kids. And the kids are completely out of control, yelling, throwing things, grabbing people's newspapers.
And it's a little chaos.
Right. And the dad is just sitting there with his eyes closed, doing absolutely nothing to stop them. If I'm sitting on that train, my blood is boiling. I'm thinking this guy is just a wildly irresponsible parent.
And that was the author's exact reaction, too. His map of the situation told him, this man is negligent, he's rude, he needs to be corrected.
Which is totally understandable.
So he leans over, clearly irritated, and asks the man to please control his children. And the man kind of snaps out of a daze, opens his eyes, and softly says that they just came from the hospital.
Oh, man.
Yeah. He says his wife died an hour ago. He doesn't know what to think, and he guesses his kids don't know how to handle it either.
Wow. That is just a complete gut punch.
It really is, and it perfectly demonstrates the sheer power of an instant, spontaneous paradigm shift. In a fraction of a second, his mental map of the entire situation just shattered and reformed.
He didn't have to fake empathy or use some PR trick to act nice.
Exactly. His irritation vanished instantly, replaced by a flood of profound compassion, because the way he saw the facts changed, how he felt and behaved changed effortlessly.
That completely reframes how we tackle problems. The text actually compares these fundamental principles to lighthouses. Like, we don't break lighthouses, we break ourselves against them.
That is such a crucial analogy. Principles like fairness, human dignity, integrity, they're unmoving lighthouses. And the core principle for true effectiveness is what the text calls the PPC balance.
Right, the balance between what we produce and our capacity to produce it. So like Aesop's fable of the goose and the golden egg.
The classic example. The farmer gets greedy, wants all the gold at once, kills the goose, and ends up with nothing.
But how does that apply to us today? Like physical assets?
Sure, take a lawnmower. The golden egg is the freshly mowed lawn. That's the production, the P. The goose is the lawnmower itself, the production capability, the PC.
So if you just run the mower constantly but never change the oil, it breaks down.
You lose the asset. The text also applies this to business. There's a story of a restaurant owner with this fantastic, famous clam chowder. People lined up for it.
Oh, I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, he got greedy for more profit, more golden eggs, so he started watering down the recipe.
Let me guess. Profits shot up initially.
They spiked for about a month, but then all the customer trust evaporated. The lines disappeared, and the business eventually folded. He killed the goose.
So it applies to everything, even relationships, right? The text shares a personal story about the author taking his daughter out for a date.
Oh, the Star Wars story.
Yeah. He ended up sitting through Star Wars, which he had previously slept through, just because she told him the Jedi Knight philosophy was exactly what he taught in his seminars.
Right. He made a PC investment. He focused on the production capability, the relationship, and it yielded a beautiful golden egg, which was the bonding with his daughter.
But realistically, and I'm asking this on behalf of anyone listening who's grinding at a job, isn't it incredibly hard to justify taking time out for that PC maintenance when the golden eggs are literally what pay the rent or keep the boss happy?
It's an incredibly difficult tension. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the modern corporate structure is often entirely focused on short-term production. But excessive focus on just production results in ruined health, worn-out machines, and broken relationships.
It's just a fast track to burnout.
Absolutely. The source makes this brilliant point. You can buy a person's back, but you cannot buy their brain or their heart.
Wait, I love that. You can buy their back, but not their heart.
Right. And their brain and heart are where creativity, problem-solving, and loyalty live. If you don't invest in that PC balance, you lose the ability to produce anything of value over time.
So to successfully maintain that delicate balance, you can't just be a victim of your circumstances. Like, you can't just say, oh, my boss makes me work too hard. You have to take the wheel.
Which brings us to habit 1, be proactive.
And this introduces Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist.
Yes. Frankl was imprisoned in Nazi death camps. He was stripped of absolutely every physical freedom. His family was murdered.
Just unimaginably horrific circumstances.
Truly. Yet, in the midst of that absolute darkness, he realized what he called the last of the human freedoms. He realized that between a stimulus, what happens to us, and our response, humans have the freedom to choose.
That space between stimulus and response.
Exactly. His captors controlled his environment, but they could not control his internal response to it.
And you can actually hear this difference in how people talk, right? Like the power of language. Reactive people use language that absolves them of responsibility.
Oh, constantly. They say, I have to do this, or if only, or he makes me so mad.
Yeah, they are verbally handing their power over to the environment. Whereas proactive people say, I choose to. There's that story of the college student who said he had to miss class for a tennis trip.
Right. The professor stops him.
Yeah. I'll act it out. The student goes, I have to miss class. And the professor says, what will happen if you don't go? The student says, they'll kick me off the team.
And the professor flips it entirely.
He says, you don't have to go. You are choosing to go because you want the consequence of staying on the team. But you're also choosing the consequence of missing this class.
Rephrasing it reclaims your personal power. And it ties into this concept that love is a verb.
Oh, that part was so interesting.
Right. Pop culture tells us love is a feeling that happens to you. But proactive people realize love is something you do. It's a sacrifice you make. The feeling is just the byproduct.
It's the difference between the circle of concern and the circle of influence.
Exactly. The circle of concern holds things we worry about but can't control. The weather, the economy, the haves. I'll be happy when I have a better house.
But the circle of influence is what we can control. The bees. I can be more patient.
Think about the story of Joseph in the Old Testament. Sold into slavery, unjustly imprisoned. He could have just languished in his circle of concern, but instead he focused on his circle of influence.
Focusing on being instead of having.
Right. He kept working on what he could influence until he was essentially running the entire country of Egypt from the inside out.
So, okay, you're proactive. You've claimed your freedom to choose. But what are you choosing? Like, where are you driving? You need a destination, right?
Which is habit 2. Begin with the end in mind.
And the text guides the reader through this really vivid funeral visualization.
It's intense. Try to picture this. 3 years from now, you walk into a funeral parlor, look in the casket, and see yourself.
It's undeniably morbid.
It is, but it cuts through the noise. What do you actually want your family, friends, and coworkers to say about you? What character traits do you want them to remember?
It exposes how people center their lives on the wrong things, like money, work, or even enemies, instead of centering on principles.
Exactly. It highlights the principle that all things are created twice. First mentally, then physically.
Like the carpenter's rule.
Yeah.
Measure twice, cut once.
Yes. Or the difference between management and leadership. Management is the producers efficiently hacking through the jungle undergrowth.
Right. They're making great time.
But leadership is the person who climbs the tallest tree, surveys the landscape, and yells, "Wrong jungle."
That makes so much sense. It's like the hotel room service example in the text. An employee spilled hot chocolate, but instead of hiding it, they admitted it to the boss so they could offer the guest a complimentary breakfast.
And why did they do that?
Because the hotel didn't just hand down a corporate mission statement.
Yeah.
Every single employee, from the waitresses to the housekeepers, helped write it. They had the end in mind.
They shared the mental creation.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The story of Anwar Sadat. He was heavily scripted, programmed to hate Israel. But while he was in solitary confinement in Cell 54, he used his imagination to rescript himself.
He rewrote his own internal map.
Yes, which ultimately led to the Camp David Accord. So it makes you wonder, what old scripts are you running right now that you need to rewrite?
And this raises an important question. How do we actually use our brains to do this? The text explains the dynamic between the left brain, which is logical and verbal, and the right brain, which is creative and visual.
So how do we use that to rewrite a script?
By using right brain visualization. World-class athletes do this. The author's son was a high school quarterback getting paralyzed by pressure. They didn't just logically talk about it.
They mentally rehearsed it.
Exactly. He would sit quietly and vividly visualize a mass of blips coming at him. He mentally rehearsed the pressure so he could execute perfectly in reality.
That is wild. Okay, so you've written your script, habit 2. You recognize you are the programmer, habit 1. Now, how do you actually live that script day to day without getting completely distracted by ringing phones and minor crises?
This is habit 3. Put first things first. And it introduces the time management matrix.
This separates our tasks into urgent and important.
Yes. Urgent demands immediate attention, a ringing phone. It acts on you. Important contributes to your mission and values.
So quadrant forward is urgent and important, like a true crisis.
Right, but if you live there, you burn out. Then there's quadrant 2. Not urgent, but important.
This is a sweet spot.
It is. This is prevention, relationship building, long-range planning.
Oh, like the story of the shopping center managers.
Yeah,
They were spending, what, only 5% of their time building relationships with store owners because they were constantly putting out quadrant eye fires.
Exactly. They were bogged down in crises.
But then they proactively shifted to spending 20% of their time just helping tenants, a classic quadrant 2 activity. And the result was a massive 4-fold increase in effectiveness and lease revenue.
Because quadrant 2 shrinks quadrant 1.
So Let me ask you, listening right now,
Yeah.
what is one thing you could do in your personal or professional life that you aren't doing right now that if you did regularly would make a tremendous positive difference?
And I can tell you the answer to that question is always a quadrant 2 activity, always. But to get the time for quadrant 2, you have to find the independent will to pleasantly, smilingly say no to the urgent but not important distractions in quadrants 3rd and 4.
Because as the source says, the enemy of the best is often the good.
Absolutely.
So to bring it all together for you, true effectiveness isn't a quick fix. It's not a personality trick. It is fundamentally an inside-out approach.
It starts with private victories. Mastering your paradigms, taking responsibility with habit 1, defining your mission with habit 2, and executing your priorities with habit 3.
Yeah. And we want to leave you with a final kind of provocative thought. If you know deep down that these principles, fairness, integrity, proactive choice, are basically just human common sense, why is it so incredibly hard to make them common practice?
It's the challenge of a lifetime. And the text offers a specific challenge we want to pass on to you. The 30-day proactivity test.
So for the next 30 days, work only in your circle of influence. Make small commitments and keep them.
Be a light, not a judge. When you make a mistake, admit it, correct it, and learn from it immediately.
Just see what happens to your map of the world. Because when you finally pull over and check your map, you might just find the right destination. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive, and we will catch you next time.